The Holy Land, at one time a land bridge between the earliest civilizations, occupies an area of less than 8,000 square miles. To the north is Haifa, the mountain city by the sea, the spiritual and administrative world centre of the Baha'i faith. And running inland for almost 16 miles, the range of hills that comprise Mount Carmel. During the week beginning the 20th of May 2001, 4,500 guests were invited here to attend the official opening of the 19 magnificent terraced gardens on the north face of Mount Carmel. For Baha'is, the event marked the culmination of a process that began more than 100 years ago, one that is destined to bring world unity. May 22nd, 2001. The stage was set for a majestic occasion, with the programme reflecting the international nature of the proceedings. With compositions from Norway and the Russian Federation, as well as symphony orchestras from Israel, artists from Austria, Spain and North America. With people from more than 200 countries in the audience, the prophetic words of Isaiah seemed to echo from every corner. And it shall come to pass in the last days, that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and all nations shall flow unto it. The timing of the opening was, of course, no accident. It was on May 23rd, 1844, in Shiraz, Persia, that the Bab, which means the gate, announced he was a messenger of God. Like much of the world, Persia was at that time gripped with the expectation of the appearance of the Lord of the Age. Against this backdrop, the Bab announced his mission as the herald and forerunner of the promised one of all ages. Angered by his claims, the clergy convinced the authorities that he would cause civil unrest. Taken from his cell before he had finished giving instructions to his secretary, he warned the guards that no earthly power could silence him until he had finished what he had to say. He was placed in front of a firing squad of 750 Armenian soldiers, along with one of his faithful followers. The regiment, in 3 files of 250 each, opened fire in 3 successive volleys. So dense was the smoke raised by the gunpowder and dust that the sky was darkened and the entire yard obscured. As recorded in an account filed with the British Foreign Office, the Bab was nowhere to be seen when the smoke cleared. His companions stood uninjured and untouched by the bullets. The ropes by which he and the Bab had been suspended were rent into pieces. Moments later, the Bab was found back in his cell, completing his instructions to his secretary. When he had finished, he told the guards that he was now ready to be executed. The Bab's remains were hidden by his followers for many years and finally led to rest on Mount Carmel. The Bab's main purpose was to announce the coming of the Promised One, Baha'u'lláh, whose name means the glory of God. Today, the once barren landscape of Carmel has been transformed into gardens, flower beds and fountains, an oasis of tranquility reflecting the purpose of the Baha'i faith, to transform the hearts and minds of the peoples of the world and create a united global community. Baha'u'lláh praised music and harmony and emphasized the importance of setting the verses and words of God to music, so that the hearts of the listeners may rise towards the kingdom of Abdu'l in supplication and prayer. Years after the Bab was martyred, Baha'u'lláh announced that he was the promised one of all ages. Although no prophet came with greater proofs or credentials, Baha'u'lláh suffered as a prisoner and exile for much of his life. Exiled from Persia to Iraq, then Turkey, and finally to the Holy Land, his captors unwittingly fulfilled prophecy with every step that Baha'u'lláh was forced to take. After a grueling voyage, Baha'u'lláh and 67 companions sailed into the bay on the final part of their journey. The ship's telegraph signalled the engines to stop, heralding the arrival of Baha'u'lláh in the Holy Land. So it was that in August 1868, Baha'u'lláh arrived here as a prisoner of the Ottoman Empire. He came as Peter had foretold. The Lord will come as a thief in the night. Concurrent with these events was the construction of the German Templar colony. With worldwide expectation that the return of Christ would soon take place, the Temple Society of Germany also arrived in Haifa in 1868. Here at the foot of Mount Carmel, they built their homes and waited for the return of Christ. Such was the exemplary influence of Baha'u'lláh on those charged with detaining him, that eventually the governor asked what service he might render. The suggestion was made to restore the water supply of the city. The restorations were immediately carried out. Baha'u'lláh loved the country, and in 1890 was persuaded to move to this house on the outskirts of Akka. The owner, fearing a cholera epidemic, had fled and offered to rent it to him. The imposing structure around which these gardens were built has a pretentious inscription above the door. Greetings and praise be upon this mansion. Its beauty will increase down through the ages. Within its walls wondrous things will take place. things which all the pens on earth will be powerless to describe. One of these wondrous things was the opportunity given to a visiting Cambridge professor, E.G. Browne. Baha'u'lláh consented to 4 interviews with Browne, who recorded these words of Baha'u'lláh.
We desire that all nations should become one in faith and all men as brothers, that the bonds of affection and unity between the sons of men should be strengthened, that diversity of religion should cease, and differences of race be annulled. What harm is there in this? Yet they deem us a stirrer up of strife and sedition, worthy of bondage and banishment.
Although the majestic figure of Baha'u'lláh was captured on film, the guardian of the Baha'i faith forbade his followers to have copies of this or any other image of Baha'u'lláh. Browne, however, painted a beautiful portrait in words. The face of him on whom I gazed, I can never forget. Those piercing eyes seemed to read one's very soul. Power and authority sat on that ample brow. No need to ask in whose presence I stood, as I bowed myself before one who is the object of a devotion and love which kings might envy and emperors sigh for in vain. Baha'u'lláh made 4 visits to Mount Carmel. On one occasion, in the Tablet of Carmel, he announced the establishment of the Baha'i World Centre and the Universal House of Justice. On another, he instructed that a fitting resting place be built for the mortal remains of the Bab. Completing this work took 20 years. Frustrated at every turn, Abdu'l, the eldest son of Baha'u'lláh, who undertook the work, later wrote, "Every stone of that building, every stone leading to it, I have with infinite tears and at tremendous cost raised in position." With limited resources and fewness of numbers, it took another 40 years before the Baha'is were able to complete the shrine as it is today. Located at the centre of the north face, with the cave of Elijah to the west, the hills of Galilee to the east, and the plain of Sharon to the south, the words of Isaiah seem to echo on all sides. Carmel shall blossom abundantly, and rejoice even with joy and singing. In the Tablet of Carmel, Baha'u'lláh wrote, "Call out to Zion, O Carmel, and announce the joyful tidings. He that was hidden from mortal eyes is come. Ere long will God sail his ark upon thee." The administrative buildings harmonize rational and spiritual purposes. Designed to stand 500 years, their presence testifies to the permanence of the Baha'i World Centre and the conviction in the renewal of civilization. The events celebrated in the presence of thousands of Baha'is from the world's diverse peoples symbolized a story that few imagined possible.
The existence of a human community capable of unifying groups previously divided by religion, race, class or education, where people cooperate rather than compete, where men and women function in equal partnership, where leaders are elected on merit rather than through power struggles and campaigns, and where decisions are made and carried out with the full participation of those affected by them. Proof that peace and justice are not only possible, but practical realities.